Hello again. The hypocrisy of our attitude towards the war between Russia and the Ukraine is simply breathtaking. This may be seen in two simple examples. The first is the breaching of the Novakhovka Dam yesterday. Our ghastly Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, says that intentionally attacking exclusively civilian infrastructure is a war crime. Despite his name, I don't think he's clever enough to come up with that line by himself. He's simply echoing the official anti-Russian sentiments to which we are all expected to subscribe these days. I'll come back shortly to the idea that attacking the civilian infrastructure is a war crime. First, though, I must point out something which people might perhaps overlook in their mad enthusiasm to blame Russia at every touch and turn. And this is that during wars, property is damaged and people get hurt or even killed. This is greatly to be regretted, but is, I am afraid, part of the very nature of war. Sometimes those casualties will be civilians. In an ideal war, of course, only soldiers would be killed, but there never was such a war. Always, civilians get caught in the crossfire. Bombing dams may well be an undesirable action, but it's the kind of thing which often happens during a bitter struggle for territory. The thumbnail to this video shows the bombing of the Ruhr dams in Germany in 1943. Are we seriously being invited to consider this as being a war crime? If not, why not? Or are such actions only war crimes when they're carried out by the Russians? Returning now to our Foreign Secretary's claim that intentionally attacking exclusively civilian infrastructure is a war crime, we see in this morning's news, although nowhere near as prominently as the news of the breaching of the Novakhovka Dam, that the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline, which carried gas from Russia to Germany. When this was severely damaged by explosions in September 2022, the Russians were immediately blamed for the bombing. It now turns out that the Americans knew of a Ukrainian plan to attack Nord Stream 3 months before the explosions. The German intelligence agency later identified 6 Ukrainians who hired a yacht and actually carried out the attack. They were members of the Ukrainian army. This has evidently been known about all along, but it didn't stop the pretense of anger at a supposedly Russian crime. I give a link to a piece from Reuters about this in the description to this video. So, if it seems likely the destruction of this exclusively civilian infrastructure was carried out by Ukraine, does that make this a war crime too, as Foreign Secretary James Cleverly seems to think? I feel that we should be told. As I say, the hypocrisy and double standards being applied to this war are appalling. We cheerfully overlook bombing attacks by the people we call our friends, and then start shouting about war crimes when their opponents do exactly the same thing.